ladies and gentlemen of Washington State, SB 5078 just passed. But what does that mean for you? Well, for starters, it passed 55 to 42, which is a bigger gap than I would like to see, but I don't expect much living here in Washington. Now, I know this bill passed in Washington, but it applies to all of you guys outside of Washington as well. Stick around to the end to find out how. Before I get into it, let me just put out the disclaimer. I am not a lawyer by any means. This is just my interpretation of what is written in the actual document. If you'd like to see that document itself, I'll make sure to link it down in the description. I highly encourage everybody to read it and even talk to a lawyer on your own to see what this means for you. With all that out of the way, let's get into the main points of this bill. So first and foremost, it goes into effect July 1st, 2022. Initially, they tried to do an amendment for 17 rounds. You are stuck with 10 round magazines. Let me say first and foremost, the hearing was a joke. You had a bunch of people who had excellent points countering the legitimacy of what this bill will actually do, and they just kept saying, oh, the epidemic of gun violence. And they're saying, you know, it's too difficult to reload a gun, so if we limit rounds to 10 rounds for these criminals who are definitely following this legislation, that so many fewer lives will be lost. Let me show you something. This is a gun. This is a magazine. Bang, bang. Drop. Done. We'll even do it again. Maybe that was too fast. And I'll even put this magazine on the ground just to make it take a little bit longer. Bang, bang. Drop. Alright, it's not gonna make that much of a difference. Now what about a grandfather clause? Everybody loves a good old grandfather clause. This law does not need a grandfather clause. And the reason is this bill does not regulate possession, so there's no need for a grandfather clause. Now, you're gonna see a bunch of people that are gonna go out who haven't stocked up on their magazines already, and they're gonna go nuts. They're gonna start hoarding everything. That's not what I'm really worried about. The bigger issue at hand is that guns will not be able to be sold with their normal standard capacity magazines. They'll probably have to do something similar to a California compliant gun. It'll just be for Washington. And honestly, this probably all happened because the Californians keep invading our state, which brings up a good point. If you want the Californians to just stay in their own state and stop ruining the fun for everybody else, hit that like button. We like you guys around here. Now, let's say that you have family and you want to transfer a magazine to them. You can't, period. There's no transfers at all, no selling, no gifting, no nothing of the standard capacity magazines to anybody. What's yours is yours, and that's it. Now, let's say you want to leave the state doing a shooting competition or a hunting trip, whatever. You can leave the state with your standard capacity magazines and come back. Totally legal. But if you're from out of state, and let's say you move here or you come here for a shooting competition, you cannot bring standard capacity magazines into the state. If you come into the state for any reason, whatever it may be, you cannot have standard capacity magazines. They have to be 10 rounds or less. Absolutely ridiculous, I know, but this is the world that we live in. Now, if you guys have any sense, you're probably thinking, this bill is absolutely ridiculous. And I gotta agree with you because you are 100% right. Is there any hope for us? Yes, there is some hope in the form of a referendum. What that is basically a physically signed petition, not digital, stating your opposition of this bill. We have up to 90 days to submit it to the Secretary of State here in Washington, and we have to get the signatures of 163,000 registered voters here in the state in order for it to be legitimate. If that doesn't happen, we have to wait for the Supreme Court to take a case regarding magazine bans and their constitutional legitimacy. So those are my main takeaways from this bill. If you guys have any insight you want to provide, throw it down there in the comments so we can help keep everybody well informed. We don't want our citizens to be criminalized for just being citizens more than we already are. Also, if you missed it, HB 1705 about ghost guns here in Washington also passed. If you want to hear me rant about that, I'll put it right here and in the description. As always, y'all have fun, be safe, make good choices. Have a great day.